right, so why don't we get started? Thank you all for attending our first virtual meeting, our ANC meeting for April for ANC 1C. I'm going to run through some of the introductions. We'll start with myself. I'll go by the number, your SND number. So I'm 1C01. I'm Amir Irani, representing the southwest corner of Adams Morgan. I'm also chair of the commission. And then off to you, Ted, 1C03.
Ted Guthrie. And my picture doesn't come up when I talk to myself. Anyway, I'm 1C03.
John Sotoli in Lanier Heights, 1C04.
I'm Damiana, I'm 1C05, northernmost district.
I'm Michaela Wright, I'm 1C06, the northeastern corner.
And I'm Japer Bowles, I am 1C07 and I am the western part of the Reed Cook neighborhood.
And we also have a new commissioner who will be joining us, and we have our council member to swear him in before he's officially a commissioner, and that's Commissioner Chris Jackson over there, who will be representing 1C08. So with that, I'll hand it off to our esteemed council member, Brianne Nadeau, to swear in our new commissioner.
Wait,
All right.
Amir, can you repeat that? We have a new member?
Yeah, Chris Jackson is picking up.
You have to stand right there. Okay.
All right, you email me the name. I didn't get it. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay. So I was trying to figure out if I could Facebook Live this while we do it, because it's pretty cool. All right. So I see, in my view, I have Commissioner-elect Chris Jackson and myself. So this should work. Excuse me for 1 second. Zoe, are you going to come up or down? Okay, but then you have to sit very still, okay? Okay, you're going to help mommy swear in. All right. Mrs. I see a question I can answer. This is 1C08, right, Commissioner? No. You're going to be 1C08? Okay. All right, let's do this. All right, so Commissioner, if you could raise your right hand, Commissioner-elect Jackson, if you could raise your right hand, you're going to repeat after me. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
And Commissioner-elect Jackson, just say something so we can make sure we can hear you.
Hello.
Great. Okay, got your hand up. Good. All right, so I'm going to try to do phrases that are short enough for you to repeat. I, Christopher Jackson.
I, Christopher Jackson.
Having been duly elected as a commissioner of the Advisory Neighborhood Commissions.
Having been elected as a commissioner of the Neighborhood Commission.
Of the District of Columbia.
Of the District of Columbia.
Do solemnly swear that.
Do solemnly swear that.
I, Christopher
Jackson.
Will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will perform such duties as may be assigned to me.
That I will perform such duties as may be assigned to me.
As a member of said commissions.
The member of said commissions.
To the best of my ability without fear or favor.
To the best of my ability without fear or favor.
That I will exercise my best judgment and will consider each matter before me.
That I will exercise my best judgment and will consider each matter before me.
From the viewpoint of the best interest.
From the viewpoint of the best interest.
Of the District of Columbia as a whole.
Of the District of Columbia as a whole.
And that I will faithfully discharge said duties.
And that I will faithfully discharge said duties.
Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yay.
Yay!
So beautifully done. Thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you to everyone at home for your patience
So much for
with our
joining.
cameos over here. And given that it is obviously very close to Zoe's bedtime, I'll be signing off and leaving you in the capable hands of Ally. But congratulations and look forward to working with you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
council member.
I'm going to send you my signed copy of the oath, and if you can sign it either in writing or electronically and send it back to me in Gottlieb, then you'll be official. But you're good to go for tonight.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Yay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson, welcome.
Thank you.
Moving on to some public announcements. Ally, do you want to take it from the top?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Ally Boback. I'm the Constituent Services Coordinator for Councilmember Nadeau. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I have quite a few updates. I want to say, first of all, that if people have follow-ups, my cell phone number is 202-531-5186. I'll repeat that at the end. And my email is aboback@dccouncil.gov. I will also send that in the chat. So I'm going to give quite a few coronavirus updates to the community. Today from the mayor's office, our total tested overall for coronavirus is 11,525. Total positives in DC are 2,197. Unfortunately, we've had 72 DC residents' lives have been lost due to the coronavirus, and we have 530 residents recovered. If you have coronavirus and you need help getting services such as essentials or food delivery, the mayor has just set up a hotline to get help. That is 1-888-349-8323. Again, I can send all of this out, and it's also all on coronavirus.dc.gov. We also have a testing triage call center, which is what you can call if you have symptoms. That is 1-855-363-0333. And there have been many mutual aid efforts in the ward. If anybody is interested in getting one of their neighbors needs assistance, or if they need assistance, or if anyone's interested in volunteering, again, please reach out to me. I will post my contact information on the chat. So DC now has the availability to get faster results with new equipment in terms of testing for coronavirus, but we still have limited swabs and testing kits. So DC is focusing on high-risk populations and symptomatic people in terms of testing. Since you all met last, the council has passed 2 emergency bills. The first one was passed on March 17th. It was intended to address the most urgent and immediate needs of the community, it gave the mayors different levels of authority to address how the city will operate. It prohibited evictions and utility shutoffs, created immediate release through business through a $25 million grant, and set up processes for unemployment. We had a second emergency bill that was passed on April 7th. This bill extended the mayor's authority, aligned legislation with the recently passed federal bill, or the CARES Act, and had some provisions around prohibiting rent increases, cable or phone shutoffs, mortgage deferrals, and Board of Elections updates for the upcoming elections. You all might be aware of some of the food access sites, and I'm sure Anthony Moore will talk a bit more about this, but there's meal sites in the ward. Seniors have there's a hotline for food delivery. If anybody has a group of seniors or a specific senior that they're worried about, they can send me the name and number, and I can send those over as well to the Department of Aging and Community Living, and they will reach out to that senior to do an assessment for possible food services. And we now have enhanced food sites with groceries. First come, first serve. The first one in Ward 1 will be at Czech on Friday. Schools today the mayor announced that schools will remain closed until May 15th. And in terms of device distribution, students should be getting devices. Some students are getting devices from DCPS. They're on to middle schools around now. We've been getting a lot of concerns around unemployment. Over 64,000 claims have been filed and payments are already going out. The federal funds will take a little longer, but will be retroactive. And I must say, Councilmember Silverman on her website has very detailed information about unemployment and all the processes. So I do recommend referring people to that or taking a look at that. In terms of the Councilmember Nadeau's, what we've worked on are hand washing stations. We now have around over 30 around the district. We're working on closing the sidewalks. But this is also something that the National Park Service has say over. DHS has gone virtual, so now there's an online submission portal for the Department of Human Services. And we've worked with the mayor to help stop gatherings of people. Again, we encourage, if you see gatherings of people, do call 311 to report this. In the council member's office, we've hosted a telephone town hall. We're planning for another one soon. We've hosted a small business webinar to walk through the microgrant applications. And we've done a Facebook Live for restaurant workers on how to access SNAP and TANF with Hook Hall and Councilmember Silverman. Issues that the council member's office is still working on include thinking about childcare providers, getting them assistance so that they're ready to kind of reopen when families go back to work. We've been thinking about rent freeze. We realize rent can accumulate, and once the emergency is over, it's going to be hard for people to catch up. So we're looking for funds. In terms of the budget, the mayor should be submitting her proposal by May 6th. We are looking at over $600 million revenue shortfall in DC, so we do expect to see cuts, and we will engage with the community once we have the proposals. A quick DHS update, we're working with the Department of Human Services to monitor the spread of coronavirus in the shelter. They have sites for people who are positive to quarantine, and they also have another site for residents who have already had a health issue, so that's a proactive approach. And we have learned that there have, unfortunately, have been 4 deaths of people from the shelter system. We had a virtual meeting this week with the health committee and health providers to continue to ask questions. That is the update I have from the council. I'm happy to take questions. Again, I will put my contact information in the chat, and I look forward to hearing from commissioners and from residents in the community to help address the crazy world we are all living in right now.
Allie, did you say something about closing sidewalks? What was that?
So there's been a lot of questions with the mayor around, closing streets to create more space so that people can walk. So we saw that around Beach Drive, but we're working to see if there's other locations.
Right. Okay. And what was the hotline for, I see a question actually from Kristen about the hotline number for seniors.
Yes, so that's for the Department of Aging and Community Living. The number is, sorry, I have it. 202-724-5626. And if a senior needs help, but they have a concern about calling themselves, or if you just think, if you get permission to pass their name and number to me, I can also pass a senior's number to the Department of Aging and Community Living, and they will call that senior and just do a wellness check and see about getting them food services.
I see. Okay. And
It looks like we wanted the number for the, like, if you have symptoms and you wanna, the triage number, if you could repeat that.
Yep, the testing triage call center is 1-855-363-0333. The main guidance, as I understand, is still if you have a primary care provider to reach out to them first, but that's another resource.
okay, thanks, Sally. So let's go to commissioner announcements. Actually, I have a few announcements, and then we'll run through again numerically. So there was a website released earlier, coronavirus.dc.gov/gethelp, and that's for residents who are homebound and who need food or other essential items and don't have the ability to get out to go get them and don't have anyone that can do that for them. So they can either call 1-888-349-8323 or go online at coronavirus.dc.gov/gethelp. And this is where they can get, everything from like basic hygiene needs to food to prescription items. Allie went over some of the senior stuff. Also, residents who need mental health support can contact mental health hotline at 1-888-793-4357. And also a couple more items, a couple more announcements. Domestic violence victims, I know it can be hard being shut in all this time and kind of being trapped in a way. So you can, there's a DC victim hotline at 844-443-5732. And you can also text 911 for a more discreet way of reporting domestic violence. And one other thing, one other announcement is that the HPRB will be meeting virtually on April 30th. And the case of 1918 Belmont Road will be addressed at the April 30th meeting. We will post the WebEx instructions and the event number and the password to access that meeting on our website. But mark your calendars. I know that 1918 Belmont got quite a lot of participation at our ANC meeting. So that's April 30th. So that's all the announcements I have. Going on to 1C03, Ted.
Yeah, I don't have any announcements other than to hope that folks try and be gentle with each other as we're dealing with this. I've noticed a fair amount on the listservs where people are getting angry at other people. And bear in mind that all of us are under a substantial amount of stress as a result of this. So try and be kind. That's all from me.
Does that mean I'm next? I don't have any announcements. Unfortunately, I was gonna say that I know that ANC 1D offered some mutual aid assistance for coronavirus. If you need that, so I can find the website, and if folks need help with any kind of mutual aid, there's that resource, and there's also other resources that I'm aware of. So if folks need assistance, feel free to.
I do not have any announcements.
Okay, John from 1C04, did you want to say anything?
Oh, just a comment that virtually every aspect of our life is changing with the coronavirus, including elections. We're going to have a primary election on June 2nd, but that'll be different because only a couple of polling places will be open, and they'll be open in Ward 1, not only on June 2nd, but for about 10 days before that. I just don't see how it's prudent, though, to show up and stand on a line to vote. So absentee voting is an option for us. And information about how to do absentee voting is on the Board of Elections website. So I'd recommend check out the DC Board of Elections website and get your absentee ballot so you can be safe. That's
Okay.
it.
Cool. So Japer here for 1C07. I'm going to do committee announcements as well as personal announcements, if that's cool. So for committee announcements, we will be having a virtual committee meeting, and I presume, I don't know if I just precluded that for everybody, but I think we're going to have virtual committee meetings overall, but PS&E will for sure have one, mostly because we have grant money that we need to spend. We have a grant that we'll be discussing later this evening, but also I have another grant from Joseph's house that will either need to be considered. In addition, just as Kristen posted, we need to spend this money. So if you know of any nonprofits or if anyone who is listening of nonprofits that are based in Adams Morgan or have a lot of folks that use services in Adams Morgan, please let us know. Or even if it's a worthy nonprofit that is doing a lot of really good work, let us know, and we can still see what we can do in terms of working with the applicant and either guiding them through our resources or helping them find additional funds. I think that former Commissioner Pooley and current Commissioner Wright did a great job in terms of redoing the grant program. So right now you can ask for $4,000, $2,000, or $1,000, and those are the tiers. However, legally speaking, and per our bylaws, we would need to change, but legally speaking, we can donate any amount of money. So I am definitely not advising that as the treasurer, but if there is a worthy cause out there, we could forelay bylaws and increase the amount from 4,000. So if you know of a worthy nonprofit, please have them either reach out to myself, Damiana, or Commissioner Zatoli, or Commissioner Denby, or Commissioner Arani, any of us. Please reach out to us. We'll either walk you through the application process or just ensure that it has been accepted and reviewed. The next thing, or personally, I wanted to touch back on all of the pedestrian safety resolutions that we recently passed since this new term. I know that we did a lot of things and I'm still not seeing a lot of things happen. So I want to ensure that while this has been a very pedestrian friendly and proactive commission, that those things actually come to fruition. So I will be making touch points on those, and any follow-up resolutions may coming up through PZT, just to ensure that what we previously passed, if there's been a hurdle or something else that needs to, if we need to get approval from something else or what the issue is, but there's quite a few projects through 1C that I feel like have been stalled. And I just want to see what the update is. So I will provide that next time we chat. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Japer. So yeah, as Japer mentioned, we will be holding committee meetings in May. So that's the ABC Public Safety, PZT Planning, Zoning, and Transportation, and the PSNE meeting that Japer just mentioned. So that will be the second, third, and fourth Wednesday in May, in that order. So ABC on the second, PZT on the third, and PSNE on the fourth Wednesday in May. If there are no other commissioner announcements, let me go through. Anthony, did you have something you'd like to say?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to give some updates on the grocery distribution sites that's located in Ward 1 for students and families of students. It's on every Friday at between 12:30 and 2 o'clock p.m. Also, we have the public testing sites. You don't no longer have to call your physician. You can call those sites directly and make an appointment. It's the Mary Center. I have a couple of phone numbers if you guys want to take down for some of your neighbors if they are concerned about some symptoms or with their family or with themselves. The Mary Center with the phone number is 1-844-796-2797, and Unity Healthcare, which is 202-469-4699. GW 202, which is George Washington Hospital, 202-741-2765. That's a couple of public testing sites where you can call, where neighbors can call and make appointments directly. We also have, if you have some neighbors with concerns with unemployment, you can send me their information. I can send it to DOS with our liaison and try to troubleshoot some of the problems that they're facing. My email address is anthony.moore@dc.gov. Again, anthony.moore@dc.gov. You can email me any concerns or any individuals that have concerns with unemployment. And that's about it. Oh, also, the mayor has a new order for hotel workers, guests, and visitors, individuals using taxis, ride shares, private transportation providers, workers, customers, or food sellers. Strongly encourage for workers and individuals using public transportation to extend the public safety emergency health emergency, May 15th, 2020. It'll be extended. So all those providers will have to provide those things for workers and guests, masks and gloves. That's it. And you have any questions, again, you can email me at anthony.moore@dc.gov.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. And just a quick note about the absentee ballots, how to request them from DC. If you go to vote4dc.com, you can see that it's a pretty easy process to go through to request an absentee ballot. So that's vote4dc.com. And Valentine from the Office of the People's Council, would you like to say something there?
That would be great. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
Okay,
you.
great. Again, my name is Valka Valentine. I'm not going to show my face on camera because I don't want to scare anyone away from this virtual meeting. I am a community outreach specialist with the office. And for those who don't know, just a short shrift is that the Office of the People's Council is the utility law firm for ratepayers. It has already been stated that there is a moratorium on shutoffs. However, there are people who still have, who may still have complaints or need help navigating through the maze that that is either DC Water, Washington Gas, Pepco, or Verizon. We are still a working office. We are all working remotely. Your representatives and constituents only need to call our office at 202-727-3071. I would also like to put out there that we are available as a group to come and give a presentation on some special discounts that people may not be aware of. One notation that I would like to offer is that while there is a moratorium on shutoffs, we encourage people to pay as much as they can on their bill. When this moratorium is lifted, there will be what I call bill shock. We're going to be there to help people, but to alleviate any pressure on your household, we encourage people to continue, if they can't pay the whole bill, to pay part of it. And thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this presentation. I am a representative from the newly formed Water Division. We just celebrated a year anniversary and helping water customers deal with any kind of complaints or any assistance with payment problems that they might have. And really happy to be able to serve the people of the District of Columbia. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this meeting.
Thank you, Valentine. Going to our, it'll be a short meeting. We only have a couple things on the agenda. But moving to the consent agenda, there's just one item on here. I know that we had the Q2 FY 2020 financial report on here, but that'll actually be on our May meeting. So what we have on the consent agenda is the March meeting minutes. So all those in favor of the March meeting minutes as they were emailed around, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Any against? Any abstentions? Sounds like 7-0 to 0. 7-0-0. So moving on to the regular agenda, we have a grant request from Lighthouse, and this grant request, Lighthouse is a nonprofit in ANC 1C, and because of my work with Lighthouse over the last couple of years, I'll be recusing myself from this vote and discussion. Though I don't have any personal or financial interest, I want to make that clear, in this grant, I feel that it's the right thing to do to recuse myself because of my work there. So, having said that, I'll pass it off to Japer. the chair.
Sweet. Okay, cool. So this was not vetted through committee. So I would like to do a little bit of sharing of screens if possible. That way we could look through the budget. And then also I believe that the applicant is on the webinar. So while I get the shared screen started, if we could have the applicant, what was the name? Get us started. Jing Wen. Gordon, would you be able to promote Jing Wen?
Jingwen may not be there. Is he? I know Brian. also there.
Katrina.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Jingwen here.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry,
All
I'm
right.
using my girlfriend's Zoom. So my name is Katerina now, but this is Jingwen.
No, that's great. So yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about the organization and then also about what the funds would be geared towards. And I think a few of the commissioners would probably have questions. And then typically we also do community questions. So for those in the community, if you would like to either type them in the Q&A form or in the message box, we can get your questions answered.
Yeah, sure. So before I get it started, I believe my nonprofit partner, also co-founder Brian, is also a participant right now. So if anyone could unmute him, that would be great too. So we can just do it together. His name is Brian Hart.
Mr. Hart, you're not muted. You should be able to speak now.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, Jingwen, I can kick it off here briefly if you'd like.
Perfect.
Great. Well, hi, everyone. My name's Brian Hart. I'm co-founder and also chairman and CEO of Lighthouse. I'm also admittedly a former ANC commissioner, ANC 1C01 from the 2012 term. And I wanted to thank you all for putting this together. We never had to deal with anything quite this insane during my time on the commission, and kudos to all of you for your time and effort and also figuring out a way to Zoom us all in together. So new frontiers for the ANC. Lighthouse provides low income and homeless families with transitioning from homelessness to affordable housing. And we do so by providing in-kind goods and donations. We are the only nonprofit in the DC metro area that consistently moves and furnishes for low-income and homeless families out in the community. We are based here in Adams Morgan. I myself am also based in Adams Morgan. I've been a resident since 2007 and live on Wyoming Avenue. And we also have warehouse space on Michigan Avenue in partnership with the DC Housing Authority. I saw Raise the Roof there on Michigan Avenue. There we go. And we were founded in 2017. So we're coming up on our 3rd anniversary. The impetus, the motivation behind our founding was that, through my work in the community as a community advocate, serving on other nonprofit boards, and through government work, saw that there was this major gap between folks that were in the homeless system, whether it's rapid rehousing or the homeless shelter system, and they were on their path to self-sufficiency and getting back on their feet. And yet when they would receive a house or an apartment, they didn't have the basic furnishings and things that you would expect for them to be able to really have a real home. And as a result of that, many folks were either living in an unfurnished living room, an empty bedroom, or a bare kitchen. And sadly, it also resulted in folks having to recycle back into the shelter system and creating that terrible cycle of poverty. So that was the impetus. Jin Gwyn himself was running another nonprofit called Sunday Suppers, and we had worked together in the past. And so we basically had this idea of bringing this organization together to fill that gap and partner with at this point now, it's over 30 nonprofit agencies and government agencies. We work with the DC Council, DC Housing Authority, DC Human Services, many of the nonprofits that you'd recognize across the city, and importantly with nonprofits here in Adams Morgan that will be part of this grant application. We've now, over 3 years, helped over 440 residents make the transition to having a real home. And that includes moving and furnishing services. And through some of our programs, we also work with pro bono moving companies and interior designers who actually go into the home and work closely with the family to really meet their needs and what they would like to see in a home to make it as dignified and respectful as we possibly can. So with that, I would add, we have 2 very close nonprofit partners. Actually, our first nonprofit partner was Jubilee Housing. That was our first client here in Adams Morgan. Actually, the building right to the left of Marie Reed School. We helped a woman she was a disabled elderly woman, and we furnished her home on Mother's Day. That was back in the spring of 2017. So we're very, very lucky and honored to be working with a great nonprofit like Jubilee Housing. And we've also worked with Joseph's House, and we have a great relationship with them, and they do really, really outstanding work. So with that, I would turn it over to Jin Gwyn to talk a little bit more about this grant and this particular request. So thank you all for your time.
All right, thank you, Brian. So about this grant, Jeffrey, first of all, it seems like you are pulling up an old version of the grant. Is there any chance you can, there should be another one from yesterday. But while you're doing that, I'll just get it started with the grant app itself. So like Brian said, we have multiple partners in Adams Morgan, ANC 1C area, notably Jubilee Housing and Joseph's House. And the purpose of this grant is we'll provide furniture to those 2 nonprofits, and we'll use the grant money, the fund, to provide those furniture, and that's the gist of it. And I'm sure all the commissioners here might have questions on how we will use the money, and the question about how the money benefit public instead of the certain individuals that were selected to receive those furniture. So if there's any questions that I can answer, please shoot it my way, and I will do my best to answer your questions.
Yeah, I think those are the 2 big ones. I read over the grant, and I've heard from a few other commissioners they have as well, that overall they really like the program and they like what the money would be going towards. But we just need to be able to answer those 2 questions in a way that fits by DC law, essentially.
Thank you, Japper. So the first question is the difference between public benefit and a versus private benefit. And in this case, so what Lighthouse usually does is we work through nonprofit partners, Jubilee Housing, Pathway to Housing, you name it, and then they refer their clients to us. Then we provide furniture to those clients in need. So in terms of this grant, I believe we can call it a restricted grant per se, and we will be able to modify our service to a certain extent to be able to accept and use this grant to its fullest potential. So what we will do here is with Jubilee Housing and Joseph's House, we will assign those furniture to those organizations. So whatever they do is not particularly tied to an individual per se. They could use the furniture they need in the common area, or they could assign it to certain individual who are in need of those furniture temporarily. And but again, those individuals don't have the ownership of the furniture. So for example, someone's in need of a couch for the time being, but when they have the resources to get a couch themselves, the couch we provide to Jubilee Housing can be reassigned to another person, and that can be passed down from client to client, and will serve more than one person, and will serve general public instead of certain individual. Area, for example, their living area, dining area, and that's my answer to one of the questions. And could you remind me what the second questions you all have? Japper?
Japer, you're on mute.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so you answered the general good question. Ted, did you have specific questions on this?
Well,
My question relates to, is there a way to get more nonprofits on board? I'm most specifically thinking or looking at Sarah Circle. I know that that could be a potential partner as well. And if so, that's a large amount of folks that are in Adams Morgan.
Thank you, Japper. Absolutely. So for now, we only have Jubilee Housing and Joseph's House on our partners list, but we are not limited to only those two partners. Usually, what we have been doing is because of our reputation and what we do in the community in DC area, people or nonprofits will come to us, and then we will establish partnership. And we could do it this way with the nonprofit you just mentioned as well. And another thing I want to add on to the public benefit part of the question is, I think it's a little bit tricky to define what is public and what is private in a setting of a community. That we view as furniture item assigned to an individual as it's benefiting the individual. But when you're looking at a community, that if that individual's house is not furnished, and they will be less likely to spend as much time as we are in that apartment unit or that house. They will be on the street, and they will cause disturbance or cause unnecessary issues in the community that is not beneficial to other residents or businesses. In which case, I want to argue that the definition of public benefit and private benefit is a little bit ambiguous here, because the value of our community is based on every individual in this community instead of what we call it, every individual's benefit getting from this furniture item or whatever they're getting from.
Yeah, certainly. So it sounds like you would be open to adding additional nonprofits within the area. If so, I have a small list I could send over, just Sarah Circle, Christ House, Vita Senior Center, and the Samaritan's Inn. Those are all within 1C and all could potentially use your services.
Perfect.
And that could also increase the amount of folks within the district or within our ANC that could use your services. So when I read through the grants, there's a part that talks about Lighthouse anticipates making over 20 free furniture pickups from ANC catchment area. Could you, I guess, go into more detail as to what that actually means? What is a typical furniture pickup look like? And then also, I guess, yeah, what's that process typically look like? And you can answer or whomever else, Brant.
Yeah, of course I can. I'm in charge of operations here with Lighthouse, so I can definitely answer your question on that front. So what we do is we provide furniture to clients in need, and those furniture typically come from two channels. One is we will purchase brand new furniture when we don't have anything in the inventory, and then we will also pick up lightly used furniture from the community, and it's all across 8 wards as well, including Adams Morgan. Actually, ANC 1C is one of our most permanent and popular pickup locations because of the just how Adams Morgan is. So what we do is we have a form online on our website that asks you if you want to donate furniture. You put in your personal information, what you're gonna donate. Then one of our staff will reach out to you asking for more information, dimension, picture of the item, quality of item, you name it. Then once we determine that that piece of furniture is what we need, it usually happens within a week or two that our crew will come to your place and pick up the furniture item from you. Then we clean it up more if it's dirty, and either store in the warehouse for a little bit or pass it along to other residents in need.
I had a couple of questions. I'm not sure my mic is on.
It's on. You can hear you.
My questions are twofold. One, that I don't know that the applicant really has the ability to respond to, but that's the public-private issue, which has to do with what we're authorized to give out grants for. And I think that before we can vote affirmatively on this grant, that we need to get input from the Office of the ANC and the auditor in particular, who will be able to explain to us the way that they determine whether something is public-private for purposes of grant applications. I know that we recently had 2 grants that there are some questions about because of the issue of public benefit versus private benefit that we need to be clear about before we vote on this, I think. My second area of concern or question is that normally when we get grants in, we have, well, for example, Adams Morgan Day, we pay for the porta potties. For the latest Jubilee Jumpstart, we paid for, I believe it was some continuing, like some books and stuff that they would use in classes that would have continuing benefits along the line.
It was a language accessibility. Sorry.
It was what?
It was language accessibility for a kids care class, I believe.
That was for the Platform of Hope. And then for Jubilee Jumpstart, we got the little strollers for the little kids.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm sorry. But it's for something discrete with a like prefigured price on it. And when I look at this grant, what I was seeing was we're going to be doing, in general, this sort of work down the line, but it wasn't really specified what it was going to go to. And maybe you're scrolling something now on the split screen that doesn't look like anything that I've seen before. Oh, this is their budget. But the grant itself wasn't specific as to what it was going to be used for. You know, like assuming it's okay to get furniture that will be used in housing that provides some public accommodation for people who would otherwise be homeless, either Jubilee or Joseph's House or something like that, and that the furniture would actually be owned by that entity, it still doesn't provide us with any indication of what particular furniture is going to have this grant applied to. And I don't know that that's necessary for the ANC, but that's every grant that I've seen has been for a particular item that we were going to provide that isn't otherwise available to the nonprofit. And it seems to me that this grant doesn't fit within that structure at all. And I don't know whether it's because it's somewhat premature in that you don't have the identified need, or whether it's just sort of to provide yourselves with some flexibility within Lighthouse itself. But neither of those things strike me as being quite kosher under the ANC rules. And I really want to hear from the Office of the ANC and the auditor, if they're in, whether or not this is something that we can do, because although we have a chunk of change that we can give out in grants, I want to make sure that we get the money back to be able to make further grants in the future. And this is the biggest grant we've ever had requested.
I don't
So-
want to, I'm not looking to influence anything here, but I did notice in our attendees, we have Gottlieb, we have the esteemed Gottlieb Simon here. So Gottlieb, if you want to chime in, I know you chimed in over email, but if you want to chime in, given that, given what Ted just said, please do.
Yeah. Can I add one thing? Amir and Ted, we actually have an itemized expense list with the items that would be provided. It's an Excel spreadsheet, and that might have gotten, I don't know if that was lost in the shuffle here in terms of attachments, but we do have. I knew that that would come up, and that's that's how the ANC has operated over the years. So we do have an itemized list for you.
It looked like there was something that was attached to the grant itself that I couldn't get to open,
Okay.
but I didn't see anything like
Make
that.
sure that they have the itemized list with the expenses that we created.
Is there a way for me to share with you guys right now, or do you guys want to do it after the meeting?
Why don't you just email it right now, and then
Yeah, if you want to email it to me, I can share it.
And Gottlieb, you're unmuted, so feel free to just.
Jeffrey, would you
I
mind
didn't see my wonderful visit.
shooting me your email address on the chat function here?
If I have the floor now.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right. I think Commissioner Guthrie raised the concerns properly. And let me say that to the extent that there are issues, they don't in any way raise any question about the good work that the Lighthouse has been doing or any of the sorts of needs that we're talking about. Often, as I expressed in my communication before the meeting, we have wonderful grants, we have wonderful organizations, and the problem is whether or not they happen to fit in the specific shoebox of an ANC grant. The ANCs may make grants, it's not their principal activity, and so it sometimes is difficult to match the ANC's ability to give a grant with a particular grant application. So I was thinking that you might want to hold over the grant until your next meeting so that the applicant might have an opportunity to provide the specificity that didn't seem to be apparent before. And let me also indicate that the issue isn't so much or isn't only the separation between what is public and what is private, but rather to the extent to which a grant benefits the community as a whole. That's one of the legislative statutory requirements. And there is an example of a grant that sometimes helps people capture this better than just the words do. And I think it might actually have been a grant that was in 1C many years ago, but I may be wrong about which ANC that was because it happened so long ago. But the applicant and the ANC wanted to train a half a dozen or so young people in landscaping. And this was a wonderful possibility and would give a great deal of opportunity and skill to the, I think, 5 young people who would be able to learn over the course, maybe the summer, I'm not sure of the season actually, how to prune, how to plant, how to do landscaping. The only problem was that it was only 5 youth. And the benefits of the grant would only inure to 5 people, or so it would seem at first blush. And so the auditor was disinclined to approve that because it didn't have a benefit beyond those 5 people. But upon further consideration, it was determined that what happened during the training was that vegetation, trees, bushes, grass that were in the public area were going to be improved. And so while the training as training would only benefit the 5 people, the outcome of the training, the improvement in the environment, in the visual environment, in the landscape environment, that was a benefit that would be able to benefit everyone in the ANC area. And so on that grounds, it was an approvable grant. So in this case, what would be looked for is the way in which the benefit that goes to the individuals who receive the furniture, how that might possibly, and that would be what you would want to work on, how that would lead to an effect, a benefit that would go beyond where they live. And to help that, I guess also, it would be important to project how many people you would expect to be benefited in the course of the grant itself. So those are the reactions. I hope that's helpful.
Thank you so much, Khalid. That was very helpful. Does any other commissioners, do we have any other questions?
Yeah.
And also, I am screen sharing right now. So can folks see what's going on my screen?
Yeah, but I don't see, I see furniture expense for 3,000, but I don't see where
It's
the
tab
itemization is.
2.
Oh, sorry.
Itemized expense, tab 2.
Damn.
Okay. Hold on, I've got something in the way now.
And I'll also send this to everybody.
I was going to make the motion that we table this to our, what is it, May 5th meeting, which is 2 weeks hence, so that we can both digest what's on this that I hadn't seen before, and also speak a little more with the Office of the ANC to determine whether or not this is a qualified grant within the terms of public versus private benefit. Gottlieb's discussion of that was helpful, but I'm still having a hard time seeing where the public benefit is on this, other than the general idea that it would work to reduce homelessness in the community in general, but that somehow that doesn't feel like public benefit within the terms of what we're allowed to make grants for.
Okay, so there is a motion to table, and what I want to do is just call to a vote. I'll be abstaining from the vote, but I'll do a roll call vote. And motions to table, they don't have a discussion. So let's just call to a vote here. And I'll go by in numerical order. So starting with Commissioner Guthrie, 1C03.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Commissioner Zatoli, 1C03.
Yes.
Commissioner Dendy,
Aye.
Commissioner, who's next? Michaela, Commissioner Wright.
Aye.
Commissioner Bowles.
Aye.
Okay.
One more.
Commissioner, knew it, Commissioner Chris
Jackson.
Guy. Commissioner Jackson.
Aye.
Aye, okay. So 6 ayes, so the motion's tabled, and 1 abstention. The motion is tabled to, I mean, the grant request is tabled to the May meeting. So
Certainly, can I say something really quick to that?
Sure, of course.
Yeah, so I will work with the applicant, and I will try, as in addition, since this is the this is the most money we would have ever given as a grant, and I would like to, if it's not already in our grant procedure process, to have every grant go through the Office of ANC as well as the auditor, mostly because, as Ted previously mentioned, we do have 2 grants that were flagged for additional review. And as the treasurer and the PSNE chair, I want to ensure that we're actually fulfilling not only just like fulfilling the law. So I will ensure that this grant is ran through them, and also work with any applicant to ensure that we're giving money away legally and in a way that's actually going to help people. And I will say, I think that there is something to be said of providing a porta potty for Adams Morgan Day, which is a 1-day experience from anywhere, just walking through 18th Street for 5 minutes or staying there all day or volunteering, versus having a bed for a person who is recently homeless. So I think that there may be a value statement to something else. So we just need to be able to find a way to utilize our grants and our money most effectively. So thank you for your time, folks from Lighthouse. I'll be reaching out after this meeting, and we'll see how we can better fix the application so it is suitable for the rest of the commissioners to vote on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you very much.
All right. So I just want to swing back around Kristen Barden, back to the announcements. That's the conclusion of our agenda items, but I did hear that Kristen had something she wanted to say. So Kristen, if you are not muted, please go ahead. You have the floor.
Okay, great. Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So as you know, Adams Morgan, like the rest of the country, the small businesses here, a lot of them have been forced to close. The restaurants that are still open are struggling. And so we launched in the middle of March Buy Restaurant Bonds campaign. And you've probably seen some of the posters around that are reminiscent of the Buy Government Bonds campaigns from World War I and World War II. So we're hopeful that these will be, somewhat helpful to our, struggling small businesses. On our website, which is admodc.org, that's ADMODC.org, there is the homepage now is a COVID-19 resource page, and that also includes a list of businesses that are open and their hours and their offerings. So my colleague, Brian Berry, who I know the commissioners all know very well, he's going to have the most recent update to that live tomorrow morning. So please check that. And also, a lot of our small businesses are using the social media to get the word out about what their hours are, what days they're open. I know there's a lot of, things changing on a day-to-day basis. So like Mintwood Place is now open. They had been closed for a while. Federalist Pig, I know, is open. All of the grocers, convenience stores are open. But anyhow, it's a very fluid situation. So please continue to check back at the admodc.org website, and we'll have up-to-date information there. Also, our newsletter, which we had been sending out every 2 weeks on Thursdays, we've been doing it almost daily now, as there's a tremendous need to get information out. So if the ANC has anything that you'd like us to include in our newsletter, please be sure to send that to Brian or me. We usually collect information throughout the day and then send it out, about now, or a little bit earlier. If the ANC wants to promote your small grants and want to get those out, send us a short blurb about that, and we'll include it in the newsletter. Brian also puts the newsletter on the Adams Morgan listserv, and we archive those on our website too. So you can always go back and reference the newsletter there. Let me see what else to tell you. Oh, so our spring and summer events, we were gonna do a Porch Fest Unplugged in early May. That's been canceled. We are still planning to do our general Porch Fest in October, the first Saturday in October. Our movie nights, which were scheduled to start in mid-May, have been postponed. We're still hoping to do those later this summer. And we just don't know the dates yet because it all depends on when the mayor reopens the city. So stay tuned. We are still hoping to do the movie nights. We had a really great series lined up. So, it's not canceled, just postponed. But if anybody has any questions for me or about our programming, please feel free to ask.
Okay, thanks, Kristen. I do want to open the floor to any members of the public that have anything to say or add. You can, if you're joining us by telephone, you can hit *9, or if you're using the app or on your computer, you can just raise your hand. There's a actual thing that says raise your hand or ask a question. And while I'll let some time for that to pass, if anyone raises their hand, remember also to take the census, 2020census.gov. So, and if you don't have your unique 12-digit census ID, you can also use your home address instead.
Yes, and I wanted to add to that the last I saw last week, the Adams Morgan participation rate on the census was only slightly over 50%. So we've got people who need to report.
All right. If there's nothing else, shall we adjourn until about 2 weeks from now, commissioners?
Yeah, do we need to have any motions? Or I guess we're just going to be meeting May 6th, right?
Yeah, the first Wednesday. I think that's whatever that is.
I think that we still need to consider whether or not we're going to have virtual committee meetings and what we anticipate the cost of streaming committee meetings would be. I'm not sure. I think that this format will actually work well enough to deal with particular issues that come up. I don't anticipate nearly the number of big issues that need substantial discussion, given the current situation. So I would tentatively, I would like to suggest that we not do committees in May, but I think we'll need to discuss that at the May ANC meeting.
I think if there isn't, I mean, for instance, like this Lighthouse grant, if we had a committee meeting prior to the full ANC meeting, I think we would have gone through some of these issues. Japer would have gone through them and worked with the grant applicant. So, but ABC being that the the petition deadlines are delayed, that one could be canceled, right? So I think we should take it as it comes. I think we should say that, I mean, I'm in favor of having committee meetings. If there isn't anything on the agenda, then we will cancel the meeting.
Yeah, I'm just concerned about, there's a certain cost that's inherent to providing this as a virtual meeting that we don't normally have with committee meetings, that I'm concerned about doing on a regular basis, as opposed to times when we have something in particular that clearly needs a discussion before a meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see
But it does seem to me that we'd have to do some sort of budget authorization at the May meeting to allow that expenditure.
Hey, Ted.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you guys offline, but don't, in this discussion, just figure out what you guys need to do as far as optimizing your process and whatever you need to do. And since you guys will be working through a budget for the next year for your ANC, we can deal with it now. But for now, we'll speak offline, but don't worry about the budget as far as expense from on my part, at least.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
And hey, Ted, I wanted to have DDOT come and give a presentation about the pickup drop-off zones. I know that we'll want to have them come out numerous times in May, having them come and do a presentation virtually in May, and then also hopefully in June. Hopefully we could come to some consensus to their plan by fall. So I think it would be a good soft touch and a good intro to the community for that.
For that particular issue to be dealt with at a PZT committee that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have them attend the May ANC meeting. I think the point is we shouldn't, if there's something to be dealt with, let's not put it off. Now that we know we've got a handle of it, we just did this full ANC meeting, let's deal with it. I totally agree that we shouldn't be, holding an ABC meeting to hear from the police give their crime stats. It sounds like Kristen wants to say something about pickup drop-offs. I see her there in the chat.
Yeah, so we announced this in our newsletter, but I know people are sometimes overwhelmed with information. But we set up 6 temporary PUDO zones for pickup and drop off in front of restaurants that are open for carry out and delivery. So there's the list is in one of our newsletters. I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me right now. But Brian, the sign, we weren't able to laminate the signs, so they all got wet and in the rain and wind that we've had the last few days. But Brian went around and got those signs laminated and reinstalled them today, so they all should be back up. And I think the restaurants really have appreciated that. If anybody has any questions about it, please let me know. But the list is in one of our newsletters from a week or 2 ago. Yeah, sorry, it all blends together a little bit. But there's 6 locations anyhow. A couple on Columbia Road. I think there's 2 or 3 on Columbia Road and 2 or 3 on 18th Street.
And these are to help facilitate food pickups and from carry out.
Hey, Kristen, are these also near the ones that DDOT proposed, or are some of them already the ones that DDOT proposed for permanent installation?
I don't remember.
Okay. I can cross-reference it. But yeah, any stats or anything, any feedback, now is a perfect time because it's not a lot of risk. I mean, where it sounds like we'll be able to get a lot out of these pickup drop-off zones and really see what works best before fully implementing something permanent. So I appreciate your constant feedback with that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. We put out a request to the restaurants that were still open for pickup and delivery to see who was interested. Because we were able to apply for free and do it for free as a bid. So, we did. And so the 6 locations are based on the requests that we got.
So was the cost, were you only allowed to do 6 for free, or was there any amount that you were able to do?
There were some limitations. It wasn't it wasn't limited to to 6 locations, but the size of them was limited, and they couldn't be near a crosswalk. You couldn't be near a hydrant. I mean, there was a bus stop. There were other restrictions like that.
Yeah, I saw that ANCs could apply for it too, and I guess that's where my question was that if you weren't able to get all that was fulfilled through the bid, if we needed to be like, yeah, in ANC we think these other ones are good too, but it sounds like that's not the case. So thanks for doing this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we as soon as DDOT made these available, we thought it was really important for for our businesses to be able to have easy access to the curb.
And I think it will be helpful to see how that works, but we need to bear in mind that the sort of longer range that we're looking at is once restaurants reopen and we have a more regular, normal traffic flow issue. Those are the places that we were interested in doing pickup drop-off zones long-term, as opposed to that sort of delivery of food where people are just stopping in briefly.
I expect there to be differences for sure. Yeah. Especially because some of them, it looks like they're not putting near crosswalks, and there might be other different specifications, but at least it's good to put a trial that say it's happened in Adams Morgan, and may not be a complete disaster, or may be a complete disaster. But yeah, it will, I mean, a permanent solution will be different for sure.
Yeah, I would anticipate that too. I mean, this is a good trial to see how it goes. But, the volume is, not normal by any means. So, and enforcement also is not normal. So, MPD is not ticketing as they normally would, unless somebody is, parked in front of a hydrant, in which case they will ticket and tow you. But, there's a lot of things that are eased right now. So this is not, normal circumstances, but it is a good opportunity to kind of test this out.
Before we adjourn, could we just run through what's going to be on the May meeting? What I have right now is the fiscal report and the Lighthouse grant, but if there's anything else that you know of now, could you let me know?
I think also we're going to have DDOT present something about pickup and drop off zones.
In addition, there is potentially a motion to protest the entertainment endorsement application of Tiki on 18th. And I'm not sure whether there's another pending ABC matter, but I know that one will be coming up potentially, at least, before the June meeting. So we need to deal with it one way or another at the May meeting.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
All right, let's take that 7-0. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Good job, guys.
Yeah, thanks, everybody. This wasn't terrible.
Nice to meet you, Chris.
Quite a bar.
Yeah, nice meeting you, Chris, virtually, right?
Thank you.
See you later, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night.